Hi, and welcome to another edition of Beer for Breakfast ABV. My name is Danielle from Mornings on 91X. As always, I have my partner in crime with beer, Paul Seguro from Karl Strauss.
What's up?
And today we are welcoming Rip Current. So we have Paul Sangster, co-founder as well as brewmaster, and he's also the new current president for the San Diego Brewers Guild. I also have Nikki Pena next to me. She is the PR maven for the Brewers Guild as well as with Paradigm. How's it going, guys?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Yes, welcome, welcome. So we'll pour the first beer and then we'll just kind of start talking about the Guild and the new El Presidente. That's really exciting.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's an honor to represent the Guild. Something I've been trying to do for a while, on the board, and they, for some reason, decided to make me El Presidente.
That's so awesome.
Well, you're very qualified, you're knowledgeable, you've been around a long time, and who better to represent, man?
Well, we'll see.
It's pretty cool.
I hope you're right.
So what are we starting out with today from Rip Current?
This is our Czech style Pilsner.
Yum.
So we do everything from changing the water to be more soft, which is what's typical in the Czech Republic. We use only hops, Saaz hops from the Czech Republic, and all the grains are from Germany or the Czech Republic.
The clarity is amazing on this.
Oh, thanks.
What's your filtration regime?
It's sort of funny because we didn't filter at all for a long time, but then when we went into cans a year ago, we realized, hey, we have to do something because our cans are going to sit warm on retailers' shelves.
Oh, yeah.
And so we got to protect it so that, when people actually drink it, it's held up. So we filter only 2 beers, and it's the one we're drinking and the one we're going to have last. I'm sorry, 3 beers. 3 canned beers we filter. The other ones, not so much.
And how long have you guys been canning for?
About a year and a half.
Okay.
So we're pretty new, but we've been pretty successful getting into like higher on, sort of supermarket type places, the higher end ones. I won't drop brands, but and then we're in a lot of the big liquor stores around town and the beer shops. So
nice. Well, let's give this a try.
Well, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.
It smells
Brett.
delicious.
I love it.
Can't wait to taste it.
Oh, that's nice and crisp.
Oh,
Very refreshing.
Yeah.
I like the aroma. I think the aroma is like a lot of fruit flavor and we're really mild fruit flavor, and then it kind of just ends up a lot in like the palate too. It's nice.
Yeah, the malts generally give you kind of what some people will call like a graham cracker sort of a character to it. And then what's traditional for a Czech style Pilsner is it's more hop forward, which is the why we made that one. A little lower on bitterness than like a German Pilsner. But we actually go the extra step and dry hop it, so you really get to experience the Saaz hops.
that's interesting because a lot of Pilsners aren't really dry hopped. I don't really get a lot of sulfur in the nose either, which a lot of German lagers have, that stereotypic sort of sulfury, poopy nose, I guess.
Right.
Is that an official term?
To some people it's official.
Poopy nose. Okay.
Well, sulfur is kind of like that fart smell or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like a fart smell.
Not that I know a lot about that.
I didn't know that was a smell that could come off a beer.
If you go to
There you
beer
go.
festivals, you're going to smell it. So
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's
Yes.
in the beer.
Or
Sure,
both,
it
or
wasn't
both.
say. I was like, I don't know.
As an official judge, right? Sulfur is the correct term, but
It is the correct term.
To other people, it's just poopy.
Yeah, exactly.
But you come to expect it with, certain styles of lagers.
Yeah, I mean, some lager yeast strains are well known for putting out sulfur, and so you just kind of give them more time to age it out. It will come
yours
out.
obviously isn't producing a lot
Thank
of
you.
sulfur.
It's not one of the flavors we were going for sure. So I'm glad it doesn't.
This would be perfect on like a really warm day, like summer coming up. Maybe take this with you on a hike when you finally reach the top. And that's what I love about cans and how everyone is going from bottles and like bombers to cans, because it's just so much easier to take around with you. We live in such a hiking, outdoor kind of place that when you take glass with you, you always run the risk, which is why I love the cans.
Definitely would say it's like a great beer for any day in San Diego. So nice job.
Oh,
I
great.
like it.
Glad you like it.
And I would say it's got enough flavor to stoke out the people who want flavor from beer, like us, who drink beer for the flavor. But it's also light enough to make converts away from
For sure.
some of the mass-produced stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's when we first started brewing it. That's who we were targeting for exactly the reason you just said. And next thing you knew, it was a very popular beer at both of our tasting rooms. So we thought maybe this should be one of the ones we can.
Well,
It's
kudos.
doing pretty well. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Great beer to start with.
Yeah.
So usually we like to start with kind of the least assertive in flavor, wash down the toothpaste or whatever is in our mouth, and then work the way up to the most assertive stuff.
Always a
Cracking
good
open
idea.
this.
So we got an
There we
IPA
go.
next.
Yeah, this is an IPA we've made for probably about 3 years, and it's kind of funny. Originally, it was called What's Up, or What's Up with All the Crystal Malt. It was a presentation I did with a brewer from Colorado and one from Virginia at a big beer conference, and the idea was present IPA recipes for all 3 regions and kind of talk about what's important in your region, and it
Oh,
was
wow.
fascinating.
Wow.
Because the beer that was from Virginia ended up the following year winning a gold medal as an English IPA at JBF.
No kidding.
And that was their everyday regular IPA.
And I'm
the
guessing
one-
it had crystal malt in it.
Oh yeah, crazy amounts. And they used English malts and
Yeah.
English
Maris
yeast.
Otter and
Yep. And the one from the middle of the country was, I think they used Pilsner malt as the base, and they used a different yeast. I don't remember which one. And everyone used completely different hops.
yeah.
So we made a beer specifically for it, which the title of the talk was Regional IPAs, What's Up with All the Crystal Malt, ? You know, kind of poking fun at them.
Yeah.
And so we made one that had absolutely no crystal malt in it. And it became very popular locally, and we made it a couple times, and then we found out someone had a trademark on What's Up. It had never been used, but they
Oh.
locally. It's a future hopeful brewery, had that name, so we switched it to Off the Lip.
I like
So-
that. I like that name, Off the Lip.
So San Diego style IPAs or West Coast style IPAs have virtually no like specialty malts half
Yeah.
the time, right? It's just 2-row, oftentimes some dextrin, or not dextrin, dextrose,
Dextrose, yeah.
to dry the beer out so that the hops really kind of shine through.
Yeah.
Looking at the color, super pale, straw colored.
It's got a great aroma off the nose.
Is that sort of how you would describe this beer?
Yeah. The goal was, you know, people always ask me what's the San Diego style IPA, and it's just, you said, it should be light in color, very light on anything that won't ferment out fully. So anything that's been kilned or toasted more, generally the sugars don't ferment out. So, and you get like a darker color and it's a little sweeter. So we just want like a basic backdrop to show off the hops. Really, that's all it is. And this one has hops from Australia called Galaxy, which is kind of a tropical fruity. And then it has a hop from the Pacific Northwest, Amarillo. And those are the 2 main hops.
Both orangey hops.
Yep. Kind of the softer fruits and then tropical fruits.
A little bit of,
kind
yeah, a
what
little
I'm
bit of
for.
stone fruit in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So you bring up an interesting concept of the San Diego IPA versus, you know, a West Coast IPA in general. What is the difference that you've seen between, like, let's say a San Diego IPA and a San Francisco IPA? Same, you know, we're both on the West Coast, we're in the same state, but different styles. Where's the difference come from?
This is just me using that term, but the reason I do it is for a specific reason. Is San Diego IPAs. I moved to San Diego from the Bay Area. I've done lots of traveling all over the world and all over the country, and I noticed that for a long time, the beers that were brewed in San Diego that were this style of beer were not being brewed in the Bay Area for a lot of the breweries. You know, maybe 20% were brewing that type. And when you go up to Seattle and Portland, same thing. There were some that were like this, and then there were some that weren't. So to me, it seemed more accurate to call it a San Diego IPA, in part homage to Vinny and the Blind Pig Brewery and all the history there, but also just because down here they're all mostly this style unless they're hazy now. You know,
Right.
It's the new type.
Right. Do you agree? Is that kind of the...
Yeah, totally. And you know, I kind of lumped in earlier just West Coast IPAs with all of those kind of, but there is a difference, I think, between some of the NorCal or even Northwest IPAs. They do tend to have some specialty malts in there. You do see some lower kiln caramel malts in there once in a while. I kind of think those are old school a little bit, and I do find myself going back to those once in a while because I'm kind of an old school guy, and as much as I love hops, you know, there is this 4th ingredient in beer called malt, and and I do enjoy a little bit of a backbone, a sturdiness on the malt profile in addition to the hops once in a while.
Yeah. absolutely. And I think tides have changed since 10 years ago when I kind of stopped calling it West Coast IPAs. I see a lot more of this style all over the country now, and it was kind of refreshing. But I think the new hazy wave is maybe converting people onto the next thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of the hazy, hazy came on the scene a little over a year ago, about a year and a half-ish ago, and I know that a lot of brewers were like, kind of like, or this is a fad, it's going to go through. What is your take on the hazy IPA?
I would love for it to be a fad. I think most brewers are waiting for it to go away. However, it's probably not going to go away.
It doesn't seem to be going away.
It's gained a lot of momentum. It was popular on the East Coast, 7 or 8 years ago. Heady Topper came out, and like that kind of started the whole revolution. And I see more and more now as I travel around. I constantly run into hazy IPAs, so I don't think we're even close to the end of that, unfortunately. But I like what it does. It's something. I wish it wasn't called an IPA. I wish it was called something else.
Yeah.
Because I think the goals of that beer, the way they were made in New England, are totally different than the goals of an IPA. We change our water to promote certain flavors in our beer. The way we tweak our water for this beer is completely the opposite of what we do for a hazy IPA.
Really?
It's closer to what we do for our stouts. So it's just totally the opposite.
I had no idea that the water condition was part of the hazy IPA. I just figured, they just throw a crap ton of yeast in there.
So you're going for like a softer, fuller, round mouthfeel?
Promoting sweetness, believe it or
Promoting
not.
sweetness.
And you would never do that in a West Coast IPA, right? See, I said West Coast. But for the hazy ones,
Throwing
it's
some
all
oats
about
and
low
wheat
bitterness.
in there. and
Absolutely.
A lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we use wheat in all of our IPAs, but a lot more oats and wheat.
So you've been brewing beer in San Diego a long time. You probably remember as well back in the day, like 15 years ago, a lot of the West Coast brewer, like Northwest, Portland, Seattle, some of those areas had a lot of breweries making pretty hazy, unfiltered beers. I remember drinking a bunch of them back in the day. And I remember being jealous, thinking, man, it would be really cool to not have to filter all of our beers down in San Diego, but people just weren't ready for them then. It's kind of cool now that, everybody's that the market wants them. Not only are they receptive to them, they actually are clamoring for them. And it's saving brewers a lot of trouble,
Yeah, it's interesting because I know a lot of the early, I call those cloudy IPAs, are regular IPAs that we don't go through the final steps of pulling out all the little bits, the trub that's still in there.
Right.
And then there's New England style IPAs, which are totally different. They're even more hazy, and they're just made totally different. At least in my research,
They're
that's
almost
the way they're
chewy.
doing.
It's not there's just it sticks with you a little bit longer.
They're going for orange juice kind of texture and
juiciness.
intense, juicy flavors, no bitterness, super low bitterness. Which, if you make a regular IPA like these, we're getting ready to have our double IPA, if we made it and we just didn't do anything to clarify it, it wouldn't, in my book, be a hazy IPA. It would be I would just call it a cloudy IPA, just to have another name for it, because the bitterness is still very prevalent. It's not super clear. But it's not juicy, fruity, thick, like you expect these hazy ones to be.
So this one I don't think I would call cloudy, but there is a slight veil that's there.
Veil, that's a really good
veil.
description.
Nice, I
I'm gonna
like
use
that
that.
term.
I'm gonna use that.
Yeah, this is now we call it triple dry hopping, but we've always triple dry, 3-stage dry hop all of our IPAs and double IPAs.
What are the
And
3 stages?
It's just different periods of time that the hops are sitting in the beer while it's in the bright tank or in the fermenter. Generally, we'll pull the yeast out, and then we do a clarifying step of chilling it, and then we add hops. And then so the first edition may be in for 2 weeks. The second set of dry hops will go in, maybe it's in for 7 to 9 days, and then we add another one, maybe 2 or 3 days. And they all impart a little bit different character because they're in contact with the beer not as long. So that's the idea. You get a little complexity out of it.
Oh, nice.
So, so our double IPAs, that's exactly what we want, is a little bit of a haze to remind you that, we put a lot of hops in this beer and we're not going to take them all out.
Now I get a lot of citrus rind in the nose.
Mm-hmm.
It smells like somebody just peeled an orange or a lemon or something near me. You
Exactly.
get that smell.
That's actually what we're going for. So the hop Citra is a very orange tangerine character, and that's the lead hop for Lupulin Lust.
It's a tasty beer.
I like the name too, Lupulin Lust.
So appropriate,
Yeah.
right, for a double
Yeah.
IPA?
Yeah, that one goes back to my homebrewing days. Most of my old homebrew names I tried to keep in the beachy theme because my homebrew brewery had that kind of theme. But I came up with the name Lupulin Lust a long time ago and loved it. And so we decided that's like one of 3 beer names that aren't to our theme that made it all the way through. And of course, Lupulin Lust are best-selling beer, so it's the one most people know. They all have trouble pronouncing lupulin, but it doesn't have a beach theme.
So you were a home brewer. I always find the stories fascinating of how people started breweries. So you were a home brewer for how long?
So I started in 1992, but I was pretty busy going to school and working, so I stopped. Plus, homebrewing in 92 was not a lot of fun. It was dry yeast and very limited grains and hops. And then when I moved to San Diego, I got really interested in it again and was brewing like every week. It's like really serious. And I decided I want to, see if my friends all say it's really good, but they say that to every home brewer. So I was trying to figure out an objective way. I'm an engineer by trade, by the way, I should say.
Oh,
so I
wow.
was trying to figure out how do I find out if I'm doing the right things. So the only way I know of is blind competitions, where you have professional judges like Paul who will know what it's supposed to taste like, and it's totally blind. They don't know if it's my beer or something else. And so I entered those competitions, and then I started training to be a beer judge. And I ended up becoming a master beer judge, and I'm doing JBF with you this year.
Awesome.
Yep. And but as a home brewer, I started winning all these big awards for most medals. I was the top home brewer in San Diego for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And I won California Home Brewer of the Year, and then I won the top home brewer in the world. And my friends were like, okay, now what are you
You
going to do?
can do it. Like you can do it.
Yeah.
Well, he's also won medals with his commercial beers.
Yeah. In 2015, we were the very small brewery of the year at the Great American Beer Festival.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So when did Rip Current open? When did you open Rip Current?
2012, December.
Okay.
So we just did our 5-year anniversary.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's
and
cool.
so
Here's to that.
Thanks.
you've got up in San Marcos, is that the main production facility?
It is.
And then you got the tasting room in North Park, which I've been to.
Yep.
Great facility. If you're ever in North Park, you're on 30th Street trying to figure out where you want to go, make sure you stop in at Rip Current because they have fantastic beers there.
Oh, thanks.
Really, really
People
good
find
stuff.
these cans in bottle shops and stuff now?
Yeah, it's all around town. We're now in Orange County and in LA County.
Awesome.
But we're totally Southern California focused. So
So as the new president of the Guild, and I'm sure, Nikki, you can help this out, what do we have to look forward to this year with the San Diego Brewers Guild? Anything big stuff happening?
do you want to
Go
take it?
ahead, I'll
Oh,
President
okay.
Play.
Yeah, so we our big events that we run are San Diego Beer Week. We have a couple of really big events there that kind of the opening and closing ceremonies. Since it's Olympics time, we can talk about it that way. So we just finished all that, and that was amazing. That's in early November. So we're coming up on Rhythm and Blues, which is our
Rhythm and brews.
Brews, sorry.
Brews, so like as in beer.
Yeah. So we
Great
have,
beer festival.
It's fun, and they have live music.
Yep.
We'll have live music
Yep.
there, and
It's one of my favorites
100
in town.
breweries, and it's coming up very soon.
So we're that event's taking place on May 5th, which is also Cinco de Mayo.
Oh.
But what we're doing is it takes place in Vista. There's more than 100 beers for people to try. We're having really awesome breweries from San Diego, but then also breweries from other parts of the U.S. who are going to be coming to join us. Like Sierra Nevada will be there. And this year we added a VIP section, so people can purchase tickets to get in an hour early. They get access to a special, closed off tented area. They get to sample special rare beers from San Diego, and they also get to get complimentary food with it.
Oh.
So it'll be nice.
I always
yeah.
feel like VIP is the way to go.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
always worth that extra little because you get so much more out of it than just the GA.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the general admission is still awesome if you want to just come and sample really great beers. So the event is from 12 to 4. 12 is when the VIP area starts, and then tickets are on sale now. So we just launched tickets this month, and it's advanced ticket sales. They will go up in price in March, so you want to get your tickets now.
Get on
Jump on it.
Don't wait, because you know how you San Diegans are. We wait till the last minute. You wait till that Friday, the day before the event, and then it's sold out. Or
Yeah. Yeah.
Like these things happen all the time, so don't wait on that.
SDbeer.com.
SDbeer.com.
Yeah.
And we
Easy to remember.
have 2 bands as well that are going to be performing. It's Trouble in the Wind, and the other one is on the website at sdbeer.com.
So Trouble in the Wind, they are very good friends of 91X.
Oh,
They
awesome.
have played our shows before, so they are an awesome band to see. Awesome, guys. Well, so our last beer, what did you bring us?
Beer for breakfast. This is a coffee beer. Gotta get some caffeine in. So this is, it's called Java Storm. It's a coffee imperial porter. I don't know if you're a distinguishing person for coffee, but we use Kona coffee that we fly straight in from Hawaii. Super fresh through the process. Our goal is a nice cold steep coffee kind of a flavor, not a roasty kind of espresso sort of thing. So soft coffee flavors, and the backbone is a big porter. It's 10% ABV.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's beer for breakfast, and it'll get
Yes.
your day going.
Proprietary roast or anything, or is it just?
Well, we have a special roast that the farm that we buy the beans from does for us.
Oh,
and they just
nice.
say, hey, we're ordering it.
Wow,
You know,
really cool.
They roast it and send it, and bam, we're in it.
And you're adding the beans on the cold side?
Yeah. We cold steep it in beer before we add
That's
it to the main
awesome.
thing. So
That's so cool. So Imperial Porter. I always see Imperial Stout. I haven't really seen an Imperial Porter. Can you just kind of give me like the difference between a Stout and a Porter?
a stout and a porter.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then Imperial Stout,
okay.
Imperial Porter. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
I'm a hophead, so when we get into the Stouts and Porters, I'm just like the dummy because I have no idea.
So there's a lot of history, which I won't bore you with. They're actually historically kind of the same thing. They grew out of the same thing. One was a stout porter and one was a porter. But basically, if you took the two categories and you go like this, there is overlap in the middle. But in general, what people will tell you is if it has a roasty character, that's going to be a stout. And if it's kind of more of a dark bready kind of a character base, then that's going to be a porter. But they do overlap. And we even use a little bit of roasted malt in our porters. And, so it's hard to say.
So where does the Imperial come in?
So like in double IPA and all the other ones, it's just a bigger one.
Okay.
So higher alcohol, more pronounced flavors. So yeah, and usually those are American inventions because we're trying to one up it. Always want to one up it.
Stick it to you.
That's right.
You can really nerd out on the whole, the classification thing. Even, within the stout family, you've got all these different types of stouts: oatmeal stout, imperial stout, sweet stout. And then within porters, you've got mild porters, brown porters, robust porters. And that robust porter, sweet stout thing, I think, is where they kind of overlap a little bit sometimes, especially when you get into the, imperial porters or the strong porters.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
And a strong porter, like an English porter, probably means it's 6%. That's really strong. But this one's 10%, so you can tell it's kind of more of an American thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a heavy beer. This is a heavy hitter, but it's really, really good.
Yeah, thanks. It's been very, very successful in competitions. Last year it won the gold at the California State Fair, San Diego Fair, and the LA Fair. And those are the only ones we sent it to. So
Which
Nice.
category did you put these in?
coffee beer.
Coffee beer?
Yeah. So it did pretty well. I think it's mostly because it's a lot of coffee beers are either roasty or they're just the balance isn't quite right. And this just features, the cold steep, softer flavors of coffee that I personally really like. And the breadiness, kind of the chocolatiness of the porter, you can still taste it.
Yeah, you definitely get a lot of sweetness too, which I think is,
Yeah.
sometimes hard to get with like coffee beers.
Yeah.
I like it. It's really nice.
I like it that way too. Some people go overboard on the coffee too, and then there's this weird astringency sort of in the finish that keeps going that's not pleasant. This has a really sort of earthy, nutty coffee flavor. It's not astringent at all. It's not harsh or tannic or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah,
And it goes nicely with the beer. The two just, you can't tell where one ends and the other begins.
that's a great way of saying it.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Look
what
at
we're doing.
you, veil this.
I
right
love
now.
beers like this. I
Gosh,
can
so
just,
good. So good.
This is why he's
nerd
the
out too.
expert. This is why we bring him on here.
Gotcha,
Otherwise,
gotcha.
I'm just like an alcoholic talking about beer. Awesome. Well, this is a really good array of different styles. So is this like Rip Current? You guys just kind of hit all the styles. You're not just hops. You're not just stouts. You're not just sours. You got the whole thing going.
Yeah, so we when we opened 5 years ago, the beer scene was a little bit different. Now we have twice as many breweries. And when I was pitching, the concept to my partners, I said, I want to have 20 taps and 20 taps at a brewery. Why don't you just have 6 like a lot of the other places? And then I had a meeting at my house, and I was a home brewer, and I had 18 taps at my house, and we were always full. And I sort of said, we start making lots of styles, we're going to need space for people to try them.
Yeah.
And so that's always been our thing, was bring back some dead styles that people maybe haven't tried, promote some styles that maybe people love. Like a lot of people love porters and stouts, and they can't find them in San Diego during the summer, say.
Right.
But we always have them on.
So there's a beer for every beer drinker at Rip Current.
You also
I
have
hope
a
so,
Belgian
yeah.
blonde and an
Yeah.
orange. Oh,
This guy,
I just ruined it.
I've had the
watch
orange
this
honey
stuff.
cream ale. It's delicious. All right.
And there it
Careful,
goes.
don't step on the
That's
tap.
how you know we're at the end of Beer for Breakfast. Paul messed up the sign.
I'm done.
Nice.
No, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Paul. Your beers are phenomenal. Look out for the cans of Rip Current out there at all of your fine established places that you go and buy your beer from. Paul Sangster, current president of the Brewers Guild and co-founder of Rip Current Brewmaster. Nikki Pena, PR maven for the Brewers Guild as well as Paradigm. This guy, Paul Segura,
Sign holder.
sign
Sorry,
holder.
sign holder,
Sign holder.
sign wrecker, show wrecker.
Tall guy, whatever. And make sure you get your tickets for Rhythm and Brews. Those are on sale right now, sdbeer.com. And just keep an eye out for all the stuff that the Guild is doing. They do great things all throughout the year. And it's all for San Diego. So thanks for watching. And as always, you can find all these episodes at 91x.com. Cheers.
Cheers.